Hey guys, you are watching or listening to the Shift Training Podcast,
where we talk about personal development, we talk about physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health, and just overall well-being.
And today we're going to talk about why habits are just not enough. And in reality, we're going to cover skill sets, tools, and habits. So, ready to get started?
Let's get started. So why habits alone won't do it?
Yeah, they're not going to do anything you're trying to do because habits work like this. Oh, if I get the right habits, then I'll do, X, Y, Z this and things will be different. It's important to understand that you need to cultivate and develop habits, but it's what kind of habits. Like right now, you already have a set of habits. Everyone's got a set of habits, and most likely we've got a lot of habits that aren't really serving us. So habits alone aren't going to do jack because you might have, the wrong set of habits. The other set of train of thought is, which we're going to talk about skill sets, tools, and habits. So for example, there's a relationship between those. So let's say, you have a habit. Let's say the goal is to get fit. You want to get fit. You know what I'm saying? Like Vaughn. You want to get fit like Vaughn. Swole, okay? Fit. You know what I'm saying? Healthy. So if you want to get fit, let's say you have a habit of eating pizza.
Oh, my favorite. One of my favorite.
Love to eat that pizza.
And burgers.
And, you don't have the tools or the skill sets to stop eating pizza. Then it won't matter how bad you want to get fit until you develop the right skill set and tools to even deploy the appropriate habit. Or let's say even if you have a good habit, right? Let's say you have a habit of going to the gym. And you consistently go to the gym, right?
Right.
But your form is terrible. You got the wrong skill set and approach to every piece of equipment you use in there. You're more likely to get injured. But you're showing up to the gym all the time. You're there.
Bad habits.
But you don't have the right skill set and you don't have the right tools to execute and get success or fruit from your good habit of going to the gym. You're going to need to have the right form, the right technique, and you need to know how to use those tools properly. You're going to need to have the other skill sets that help you to even show up the best way that you possibly can to get the most out of your habit of showing up.
Right. Yeah. So for going back to that, habits alone won't do it. We're going to need reminders, constant reminders, could be our phone, set our phone,
Great tool.
Every 30 minutes, if we are someone who has a lot of negative talks, all right, set an alarm. All right. Do you have negative talks today? That's a way to break that pattern. You also need to have routines, not enough just habits. Maybe you set that alarm every morning, every morning I'm going to be doing X, Y, and Z. Set that because that time creates that memory. And we need some triggers. We need to replace different triggers for a bad habit.
Right. 100%.
Right?
Yeah.
And just going back to the skill set. So from my understanding with the skill set is, it is something that you develop through, hard work, dedication.
Practice.
It's your abilities, knowledge, and experience. So for me, skill set is that, and then tools are, as you mentioned earlier, I think a good example in my head is like money. You can use money as a tool for you to develop your skill set. For example, hiring a coach or a trainer. So that way you can further your knowledge in a shortened amount of time.
Ooh, yeah. Great example. Great example. Yeah, so the difference between skill sets and tools, I think the examples you gave are really good. I like to use the example of martial arts because, I like martial arts. It's my background. So you could have the tool of a katana, sword for those who don't know, Japanese sword. So you have the tool of a katana and you need to develop your skill with using it. Or let's say blacksmith or carpentry, anything. The reason I'm using physical examples is because physical examples are generally easy for people to understand and see. But there's tons of examples that we could use besides that. Physical is just the easier way. But just imagine, if you have a sword or a hammer or whatever it is, and you have the tool, but you need to develop the skill set. So in the beginning, let's say you're not familiar with using a tool. you're probably gonna hit your thumb. You have the wrong thing. Like you don't have the skill to just go bop, boom.
Exactly. You don't
bop,
have that
boom.
motion.
And then when you're masterful, you got the wah, wah, wah.
You're very efficient. You know?
Yeah, very efficient. But that comes from practice. So developing skill set. When I think of skill sets, I always think skill sets have utility. The tool by itself is a means to execute said utility. So if you have the tool, like let's say you have a firearm, people are sensitive about firearms sometimes. Let's say you have a firearm, you say you have a marker, let's say you have a pen, anything, but you don't have the skill to use it. You don't know how to use it, and you haven't developed that. You're not proficient with it yet. Then the tool itself isn't very good. It's not very helpful. I mean, it is. You'll do better with the tool than without. But in order to get the most out of the tool, you need to develop the skill to use the tool.
Right. Just like, writing. Your tool would be the pen and the journal. And your skill set is about your knowledge on different kinds of topics.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And you'll and the power of that writing, it helps you develop many skill sets, critical thinking, visualization, so many other transferable skills, which are like the highest quality, best skills to develop, like communication.
Conveying messages to inspire other people.
Goes everywhere. Those types of tools or skill sets, you can take anywhere and use them with almost any tool, and you will find success. So we've kind of been talking about skill sets and tools, but let's talk about the relationship between skill sets, tools, and habits. So let's say you have a tool, not very skilled with it, and you have a habit that doesn't work for you. You want to change the habit, but you have this tool. Let's say the tool is the calendar, like you're talking about. You okay?
I just sneeze.
Oh, okay, bless you.
So you use the calendar,
right? So
as a tool,
but you don't really know how to use the calendar, so you can't maximize, let's say, pattern disrupt or things like that. Like if it's supposed to remind you or help you to change or develop the habit, if you're not proficient with using the tool, you're probably not going to be able to change the habit.
100%.
Yeah. So you need the skills and the tools in order to create or develop new habits.
New habits, yeah.
Yeah. They require all three. So habits alone ain't going to do it.
Yep. I agree.
Cool. Let's talk about a few other factors that affect the recipe of success or getting what you want. Basically, it's how we say success, right, here in America. Values, standards, and beliefs. And I want to try to paint a picture to the best of my ability. So I'm going to go general, and then I'm going to try to go specific. Okay? So values, standards, and beliefs play a role in how you develop skills, how you utilize tools, and how you form habits. So for example, let's say I'm going to show you what being out of alignment looks like first. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's easy for us to see, but I want to give a clear example. Let's say I'm going to do the easy one, fitness again. Okay?
Let's do it.
The goal is to go to the gym, be fit. You wanna do that. So let's say maybe there's a value. What is the actual value there? Okay, let's say maybe the value and the end goal are kind of similar related. You value the idea of being healthy and strong, fit in your own body, feeling higher energy, whatever it may be. Or maybe you just want to go look fine in the gym. You know what I'm saying? Whatever it is you like, whatever it is, that's the value. But your standard, you have a standard. The bar is not, I will go to the gym 3 out of 5 or 5 days a week or whatever it is. And that is the standard. Standard meaning the minimum. I will not go below this. So let's say you're like, yeah, it's cool if I go 2 days a week. You say, I'm gonna try for 3 out of 5, but but your standard is like, as long as I'm going, that's good enough, right? And that's your standard. And then maybe you have a belief. Maybe there's a belief that says you can't do more because of your schedule. There's not enough time. It's one of my favorite ones. So there's not enough time, or maybe there's a real belief that you're not worthy of having what you think you value. Maybe that's more of the thing. So with those things playing a role, that's gonna probably hinder you from developing the skill set or investing as much time as you can to actually develop the skill sets, understanding how the body works, learning, utilizing the tools properly that are in the gym. in order for you to actually practice the appropriate habit to get you the result you want. So the habit that will come out is, I say I want to go to the gym. Sometimes I go, sometimes I don't. I'm not really sure if it's worth it, or if I believe that I deserve it, or I believe that there's not enough time for me to actually make it happen. There's just so much going on. And then, now with those value standards and beliefs playing a role, well, now I can't really, it's hard. I'm not really getting it. I'm not really able to develop the skill set, and I'm not really good at this particular exercise or this particular exercise, and then now that's your habit, because that's the pattern you've practiced. You've practiced that sequence over and over, and now you have the habit of saying you're gonna go to the gym, not going to the gym.
You know what this reminds me of is the quote from Gandhi where he says, what you think, you say, or you feel, I got that in wrong order, but anyways, when those three things are together, you experience harmony. But if one of them are not aligned, then you don't experience that, elatedness or joy.
Right.
Yeah,
100%.
So with that values, standards, and beliefs, if one of them are not, operating in the right process, then you won't fully experience that fulfillment.
Yep, 100%, 100%. Yeah. And I think, so that's an example of being out of alignment. So let's talk about, what does that ideal alignment look like? We're gonna use a slightly different example because I feel like we're beating this one up pretty bad, but we'll go with the idea of saying you wanna improve your relationship with yourself or with other people, okay? So we're gonna go more on the mental side a little bit for a moment. So let's say you value the idea of being at peace, or you value the idea of getting out of chaos, or you value the idea of things getting better, right? And let's say the plan is, maybe you're going to go see a therapist, right? Work with a therapist. And so you understand that working with a therapist will do something for you towards what you value. And your standard is, well, I'll go like once a month or whatever. And the therapist is like, nah, you need to come like every other week, cuz. So you need to be there. But you're like, oh, well, my standard is this, and this is what I think I can do. And maybe there's a little bit of belief where you're like, you have this belief where there's a little bit of resistance or taboo for going to the therapist. Where you're like, do I really need to go see a therapist? There's nothing really wrong with me, kind of deal. And it's not about whether there's something right or wrong with you. It's, do you believe? See, the belief is focused on the wrong thing. The belief is focused on some negative aspect about what you're doing. The belief should be more geared towards, I believe this can help me. Yeah. Or do you not believe it can help you?
And I think there's a stigma on that as well. When someone says, oh, I go to a therapy, people perceive you as someone who's like mentally ill or any of that. And I think nowadays it's just becoming better of like, especially athletes, elite athletes, they say that they have their own therapy, and that helps them psychologically to get better at their game. So it's not just, like illness about, mentally ill. It's also for your mental and emotional health.
Yep. And it's literally just like taking care of yourself, like eating vegetables or brushing your teeth kind of deal. And we don't have a bad stigma against that. So it's the same kind of thing. So back to the example, we want to say, here's the value. The value is this. We want to have this peace. We want to better understand what's going on. And the standard is, we'll kind of go less than the therapist says. But in reality, what you're going to do is you're going to change that standard. Standard's going to be, therapist said this, so let's do this because this seems like what I actually do need. So I'm going to adjust my standard to match where I want to go. I'm not going to let my standard stay based on how I feel in this moment. Because if the standard is based on how I feel in this moment, I will never get to how I want to feel. You have to move the bar from where you want, from where you're feeling right now and entertaining that idea, whatever it is, and move the bar to where you want to go. How do you want to feel? Then you're going to align your beliefs with it. Well, I believe if I take the corresponding actions, it will take me there. So good, you show up to therapy with the belief that it's going to help you move towards your goal. And you're going to actively invest in it. And while you're there, you're going to learn some things about yourself. You're going to be developing skill sets. And therapist is probably going to supply you with some tools, some assignments or things you can use to continue to further develop the skill sets that you need, like communicating or practicing healthy boundaries, etc., in order for you to develop the appropriate habits necessary to have a healthier connection with yourself and other people as you originally desired. But you have to be willing to adjust your values, the standards, and the beliefs to be in harmony, and you will develop the appropriate skill sets, tools, and then eventually habits to get what you want. But they work together linearly in one lovely little line that's congruence. That's how you get there.
Yeah, and that beliefs is, I think, it's so important to some people. When they started on something like, let's say, a coach or a therapist, you must be a really good student, you know? Sometimes you accumulate so much information that you ended up like not doing anything. So sometimes you just gotta go all in, believe on that person that he or she will help you, and just be a good student.
Yep. Yeah, believe in the process.
One coach, really. One therapist for a year.
Oof.
Yeah, trust that process. We all, and that's what's interesting about life, you know, like we all have different paths and it's always going to be unique. And if you keep going somewhere else to learn anything, there might be a conflicting belief. So you're like, all right, which one should I believe? You know, this therapist or this therapist, if they have different, you know, philosophy.
Yeah, I think that's another thing that I think is a challenge for anybody in terms of learning. So we're going to talk about learning as a skill set, learning as utility. I think one of the things that hinders people from maxing out their learning, because learning is one of those transferable skills. Remember, this is one of the gems, like communication. Any of the ones that you can take and apply to various tools means you develop the skill set. You instantly will get good faster at anything else. Learning is one of them. And one of the things that hinders is that the conflicting beliefs.
Yeah.
Making every belief so personal. Because it means that, well, I don't like the way this person does this or the way they say this or whatever. It doesn't matter. Do you want X, Y, Z, whatever it is you're chasing? Is what they're saying possibly helpful? Could it get you there? Well, it could, but not the way that I'm thinking. The way that you're thinking hasn't gotten you there yet. So you probably need to be open to changing or updating that belief, maybe to include more perspectives than what you have. Sometimes you have a belief that you should stay at a certain standard, and someone may believe that there's a higher standard for you because you've been saying, I want this. You want this, but this doesn't dwell down here. It dwells over here or over here, which means if the person's saying, hey, come over here to get what you need, and you're not moving, sometimes we take offense to the person doing that. And in reality, you need to just be open and maybe update your belief system, elevate it. If they, you say you want something, there's somewhere you visualize that you can have more in your life. Someone saying, hey, you said you wanted, let's get with it. Accountability. If you take accountability personally, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say you've got some belief or value that's stopping you from elevating your standard. And you need to really assess what that belief is or what that value is that's holding you back, stopping you from raising your standard.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think one of the key points there is updating your knowledge or your learning. One of the example that I have a strong belief in, this one is more like on the fitness, it's called somatotypes. So basically there are 3 types of like type of body. One is the skinny, medium built, and like mostly people that are large built. But it's actually, I thought this was not true at all, because we all get skinny so at some point of our time, or we get, big at some point of our time. So I thought that wasn't correlated. So I thought it was BS. But as I update my knowledge, I start to realize that some people are actually more towards this somatotypes. They get bigger than the other guys because of their genes, their genetics. They have more fat cells than compared to other people. So it's just more of a range. So when I update my knowledge, I become more open, and now I understand. Now I don't believe those somatotypes anymore.
Right. Good example. Good example. Yeah. So I think back to the point, guys. The original point is that habits alone ain't gonna do it. It's not just about cultivating good habits. It's about making sure that the habits that you want to develop, well, in order to develop them, you need to understand the weight and value of skill sets and tools. If the skills you're actively practicing with the tools you're consistently using do not lead to the habits that you want, you need to change what tools you're using. You need to change the skill sets you're developing. Remember, skill sets get developed by practice. So it's kind of like a loop. It's kind of like, what are you practicing? All right, well, that eventually becomes your habit. That becomes your norm. That becomes your default. So if you're practicing saying, oh, it's okay if I don't go to the gym, I'm going to go out with my peoples, drink some beers instead, and you practice that more often than you practice, I'm going to watch this video about this exercise, I'm going to go to the gym and ask the coach for their feedback on this exercise, then I'm going to try to perform the exercise. Now you're developing the habit to get the fitness. So know that there's a big difference in that, and you will always and only get what you practice. So the skill sets you develop and the tools, that's what's going to give you your habits. Nothing else.
That's it.
All right, guys. Anything else?
That's it for us.
All right, cool. Episode 20 is complete. 20.
Well, if you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to subscribe, review, like, comment. Comment down below. What do you guys think?
All right. And that is all. We hope that you guys have an amazing day. Take care.